plus ESPN Radio on Sirius XM Channel 80, plus ESPN Radio, the Stephen A. Smith Show, simulcast live over the television airwaves of ESPN News. The number to call up, as always, is 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. I know the story of the day. I know what the story of the day is. I know that it involves the suspension of Urban Meyer, head coach of The Ohio State University. I know it's 3 games. I know there's a lot of people that's not satisfied. I know there's a lot that a lot of people have to say about it. I'll get to that in just a few minutes. But I got something else on my mind. And you know what that is? That's Khalil Mack. Now, there are still Raiders fans in the City of Angels, Los Angeles, California, even though they're the Oakland Raiders and they're moving to Las Vegas. And I know there's some people out there that's saying, what the hell is going on with the Oakland Raiders thinking about trading this man? I know there's some people that's asking the question as to why in the hell can the Oakland Raiders figure out a way to come up with $100 million for a coach that I have profound respect for, but didn't coach for the last 10 years. And the previous 6 years he coached prior to that, he only made the playoffs twice. And even though he won the Super Bowl in the 2003 season, which was the 2002 season, which was the 2003 Super Bowl, damn it, he ain't won a playoff game since then. That spans 15 years. Not only was my hairline about 3 feet forward at that particular time, I had a damn afro. That's how long ago John Gruden won a playoff game. And if you can find $100 million for that, you should be able to find some money for Khalil Mack. That's the mentality that everybody has. Most people have when you hear about Khalil Mack potentially being on a trade market, wondering where he's going to end up. I've got something else that's on my mind about Khalil Mack, and that is the New York Jets. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to tell you, if there is a team that should be doing everything it possibly can do under the sun and the heavenly stars to get their hands on Khalil Mack, it is the New York Jets. You got a stud in safety Jamal Adams. You got a stud defensive lineman in Leonard Williams. You went and got this kid Tremaine from the Los Angeles Rams. But you know what you don't have? You don't have that linebacker who also could be a defensive lineman, who also can assist in getting after the passer and do it in an elite level. In 4 years in Oakland, Khalil Mack has 40.5 sacks. In 4 years in Oakland, there has not been a better defensive player on their squad. In 4 years. While the Oakland Raiders, for the most part, were stinking up the joint with the exception of the 12-4 season, which ended in a wild card loss, because they didn't have Derek Carr as their quarterback because he went down the second to the last game of the season. Khalil Mack has been the face of this defense. The Oakland Raiders want to do something stupid by making sure they don't get their hands on Khalil Mack. Their stupidity is potentially the Jets' game. And if you're the New York Jets, because you drafted the number 3 overall pick and spent it on Sam Darnold, you have your quarterback for the future, who, by the way, at this particular moment is underpaid. So you have money. And if you have money with a stout defensive mind like Todd Bowles as your head coach, and you've got personnel on the defensive side of the ball, you go ahead and you make sure you get Khalil Mack. You do whatever the hell it takes to get your hands on that man. He played college at Buffalo, which means he's played in the state. He's a stud. He's hungry. Don't give me that stuff about a contract in the National Football League. Why? Because in the National Football League, guess what? They sign you to a deal, but got a right to reduce your salary. Got a right to cut you and waive you. They can be non-committal with their commitments. And if that sounds like a damn oxymoron, it's because it is. There's no consistency with this. There's no loyalty with this. If this were baseball, basketball, something like that, you sign a damn contract, live with it. In football, no, it doesn't go that way. Because the owners is not applicable to them. The teams is not applicable to them. Why should it be applicable to the player? Get yours while you can get yours. And in case you didn't know, that was Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless, best phones, best networks, no contracts. That's what you do. You go and you get Khalil Mack, the Mack Daddy. That's what you do. Khalil Mack in New York City. Khalil Mack in New York City. You talk about a gangrene defense resurrecting itself, rises from the ashes of mediocrity and beyond. This is how you do it. This is how you do it. This is a no-brainer to me. You're the New York Jets. You have got to do this. You've got to find a way. There's at least 12 teams reportedly that have called the Oakland Raiders about Khalil Mack. And in fairness to the Oakland Raiders, let's be clear. Let's not blame this on John Gruden. First of all of us would take the money just like he took the money. Secondly, from a football acumen standpoint, the man is made to be a part of football. He knows football inside and out. Whether he can coach this generation of players remains to be seen. But I don't think him being away from the game as long as he was will hurt him as much as it would have hurt other coaches, because he was the voice of Monday Night Football, which means that he was around these guys all the time. And by virtue of being around all of them, talking to them, ingratiating yourself with today's modern day player, while at the same time calling the games, giving color commentary, first with the great Mike Tirico, and then with Sean McDonough. And on top of it all, getting access to those locker rooms and talking to the coaches and what have you, I think everybody knows that John Gruden knows his damn football. But $100 million? $100 million? Bill Belichick don't get that. Mike Tomlin don't get that. Mike McCarthy doesn't get that. Pete Carroll don't get that. John Fox didn't get that when he was in Denver. Ron Rivera has never gotten that from Carolina. Doug Peterson just signed a new contract in Philadelphia. He didn't get that. Tom Coughlin won 2 Super Bowls and was pushed out the door by some scrub named Ben McAdoo, who was a chubby version of Pat Riley. Actually, I take that back. That's an insult to the true Mac, Pat Riley. He was a wannabe Pat Riley. In every sense of the word. Down to that damn the slickness in his hair, or whatever the hell you call that stuff you put in his hair with those phony shades. If that was Pat Riley, he would have at least rocked some Cartiers. Prada, something. For all we know about Ben McAdoo, he got them cheap-looking shades from some damn deli stand off of Broadway. But I digress. My point is, you don't have this kind of situation. None of these coaches get paid $100 million. So if you could find $100 million for John Gruden, how come you couldn't find $100 million or at least something close to that for Khalil Mack? I hear that the Raiders have a cash flow problem. Once they get some money from the NFL in October, they'll have more cash. But until that moment in time, they don't have it. Excuse me, projections are a part of business. It's a part of business plans. If you know you got that money coming in October, how come you can't pay Khalil Mack in August? You'll get it back in 6 weeks. You're the New York Jets. You cannot mess around. You got an opportunity to get the Mac Daddy, you go get him. He's Khalil Mack, for crying out loud. He is that dude. If you got an opportunity to get him, you go ahead and you get this man. Couple of other football items, or at least one other football item that's on my mind is the New England Patriots getting rid of Kenny Britt, another wide receiver, gone, about the third wide receiver they've let go of in this preseason, but no call to Dez Bryant. In case y'all are wondering, what has happened to Dez Bryant is very simple. He's been sabotaged. I know that he's taken a step back. I know that Dez Bryant ain't the player that he was a few years ago, like in 2013 when he was arguably considered the best receiver in football. I get all of that. But he was still the best receiver on the Cowboys last year. You going to let him go, and your response is Allen Hurns, Cole Beasley, and Terrence Williams? Clearly, this is one of those situations where word has been put out about Dez Bryant, and his stock is going to be hurt. And isn't it amazing? Dez Bryant's stock is hurt, but Aqib Talib's stock ain't hurt. He's in L.A. Marcus Peters' stock ain't hurt. He's in Kansas City. And Ndamukong Suh's stock ain't hurt. He's in L.A. as well. I'm sorry, Marcus Peters came from Kansas City to L.A. So L.A. took 3, and I don't find them questionable. I don't have no problem with them, but I'm just saying according to the reports, these individuals are supposed to be questionable. They all land in La. Des Bryant's questionable. He can't even get a ride down the road to Houston. Can't get picked up. I mean, he's done everything but throw flowers in Belichick and Tom Brady's direction over the last couple of days. I guess meeting with the Cleveland Browns would do that to you. So you got that situation with Dez. And I just think it's a damn shame he's gotten screwed over the way that he has. Now let me get to the story. Ladies and gentlemen, let me confess to you, I don't enjoy talking about this. And I'm going to be honest with you, like I always am, but in a way that most people can't. We can't talk about these issues involving domestic violence with the level of candor that we'd prefer. Because God knows I'm a witness and testimony. I'm living testimony to the fact you utter the wrong word, it can cost you. The wrong word. So I'm aware of this. But I want to say this. Reading this report, hearing from the investigators, Urban Meyer should be fired. I'm going to say it again. Urban Meyer should be fired. And I'm going to tell you why. It doesn't have as much to do with domestic violence as you would think. This incident itself has highlighted and illuminated the fact that a fact we've already known. Most times, more than 85% of the time, women are truly the victims. It's just the truth. Let's just stop it. It's just the truth. Because when you see an incident like this, it highlights it. Zach Smith, the incompetent assistant coach who coached wide receivers, who didn't do a damn good job at it at that, because you have players on Ohio State who swore they had been coached better by other people. This dude was late to practices. Players got there before him. He was out, albeit on his own dime, going to strip clubs and stuff. I mean, this brother was a loose cannon. Should have been going a while ago. His granddaddy was Earl Bruce, former coach at Ohio State, mentor to Urban Meyer, responsible for basically getting Urban Meyer started in the coaching profession. Urban Meyer clearly felt a level of obligation to Earl Bruce, and as a result, spared his grandson, who clearly, based on these reports, had no business being an assistant coach at an institution of higher learning. No business whatsoever. If you read some of this stuff, I mean, first of all, you got the domestic violence issues, at least a couple of separate incidences. One in 2009 when the man was at Florida, again in 2015. You also have him reportedly having engaged in a sexual relationship with the secretary on the football staff. That's another thing that's potentially ground for dismissal. He took explicit photographs of himself in Ohio State's football facilities and other locations, including the White House. The White House! The White House! I mean, who goes to the White House and thinks about being horny? Let me take that back. Because after all, we know who's in office now. So let me, I might have spoke out of turn. I apologize. But, facetiously speaking of me, who goes to the White House? Horny! Who does that? Who does that? I mean, is it just me? Is it just me? And ladies and gentlemen, let me put myself on Front Street. Let me not be a phony. I am somebody, at least a long time ago, long time ago. I had a very active lifestyle. I'll confess. Promiscuity was not my middle name. It was Anthony, but damn it, it was up there. It just was. All right? I just told on myself, you happy now? And I'm guilty. I was guilty as charged. Once a long time ago, long time ago. I was guilty. It's true. But never in my wildest dreams. Now, I have not been to the White House. President Obama never invited me, Andy Katz, Mike Wilbon, people like Jamel Hill, and yeah, he never invited me. He invited them. But now I digress. My point is, I would have considered it an extreme honor. I have been on Capitol Hill. I have. That's it. Horny at the White House? Really? Really? That's what this dude, Zach Smith, was doing. And here's the thing, Urban Meyer knew. Urban Meyer knew. Says here, June 2016, Meyer directed Zach Smith to be admitted to a drug treatment facility for addiction to a stimulant prescription drug used to treat ADHD. Meyer didn't tell athletic director Gene Smith that Zach Smith was being treated for drug abuse, according to investigators. That's just one thing. But when I utter the words to you that Urban Meyer should have been fired, it's not because of this. I think that a suspension that ensured it would include at least 2 Big Ten games was more than enough. He's not the one who committed domestic violence. That was Zach Smith. And I think a lot of times we are so fixated on making sure somebody pays that we actually let the true perpetrator off the hook. No one is more egregious in this particular instance than Zach Smith, the assistant coach. He is the one that put his hands on his pregnant wife before, then ultimately his wife, and then after they had separated. He did that. Urban Meyer, as inexcusable as it may be, it's entirely plausible that somebody who had a mentor who he believes is responsible for sparking his illustrious career owed it to the granddaddy to try and look out for his grandson. We might not like it. We might not approve of it. But damn it, we know that happens. It just does. Trevor Mattis came on First Take today and essentially alluded to as much. So has Paul Feinbaum. Where collectively we all march lockstep in unison with one another is looking at that press conference last night. That was when my position transitioned from Urban Meyer being suspended to Urban Meyer needing to go. Paul Feinbaum said he looked like a damn hostage up there. That's what he said. That's what he was talking about. Urban Meyer sat up there last night like he was the victim. Like Courtney Smith, the victim, the woman who was abused by her husband, verbally, physically, or otherwise, whatever way you want to term it. She says physical. Urban Meyer acted like he was her. Like he was the one that was being victimized. That he was the one that was being tortured. No remorse. No contrition. He never even mentioned her name. And when asked specifically about her, he said, I'm just sorry that we're all here. This is what it was. He was asked what his message to Courtney Smith is, the victim. Listen to what Urban Meyer said.
What message do you have for Courtney Smith?
Well, I have a message for everyone involved in this. I'm sorry that we're in this situation. And I'm just sorry we're in this situation.
What about Shelley's text messages? Why were you not concerned from her messages about this situation?
I was not aware of Shelley's text messages at the time.
All right, stop right there. And see, that's another thing. Because not only did he show no remorse, not only did he show no contrition, he flat out lied. Ladies and gentlemen, you ladies out there, oh, you gonna call up to this show today. You gonna call up to, 888-SAY-ESPN, 888-729-3776. Y'all gonna call up here today because I want one woman. I challenge one woman in this country to call up here to tell me you're married to a man for 29 years. His wife, the wife of a subordinate, tells you she's being physically abused, and you didn't tell your husband. What wife is that? Now, ladies and gentlemen, once again, to put myself on the full disclosure, I haven't been married. Obviously, I've had intimate relations, but I have not been married. Let me be very, very clear. You are with a woman for 29 years. There is no way on earth she did not tell you what's going on. There's no way she kept that from you. Don't tell me that. That's insulting my intelligence. The wife of Urban Meyer, the head football coach of The Ohio State University, a 3-time national champion, in the discussion yearly as to whether or not he's the best coach in all of college football, him or Nick Saban, who signs a contract extension, who's getting paid $7.6 million annually in total cash compensation, who's a 3-time national champion, who, by the way, has a history of troubles because 31 arrests occurred under his watch at Florida. That guy. You said nothing to him about one of his subordinates, the wife of one of his subordinates, claiming she was being physically abused. You said nothing. Ladies and gentlemen, we all know that's a lie. That's just a flat out lie. I'd stake my career on that. And I don't know Urban Meyer's wife from a can of paint. If she was standing right in front of me, I wouldn't know who she is. There is no woman alive that would keep such information from her husband of 29 years. Damn it, I don't think there's a woman alive who would do that to a husband she'd been married to for 29 days. How about 29 hours? Let alone 29 minutes. That's just a damn lie. Urban Meyer could have went up to the press conference yesterday and said, hey, I messed up big time. I mishandled this stuff. As Trevor Maddich said, I apologize to Courtney Smith, and I apologize to women everywhere who suffer from such a heinous act. I didn't add substance to these kind of situations. I diluted it for my own selfish gain. And for that, I'm sincerely sorry and I apologize. Urban Meyer chose to take a different route, and yet a very predictable one. And I'll close this segment by asking a very, very simple question. Y'all still okay with 18, 19, 20, 25-year-olds being held more accountable than grown men who are supposed to be leaders of those young men? Think about that and talk to me. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. That was Straight Talk Wireless, nationwide coverage on America's largest and most dependable 4G LTE networks. By the way, when you're hiring, you don't want to waste time sorting through dozens of irrelevant resumes. You want an efficient way to get to a short list of qualified candidates. That's why you need Indeed.com. Post a job in minutes, set up screening questions based on your job requirements, then zero in on qualified candidates using an intuitive online dashboard. Discover why 3 million businesses use Indeed for hiring. Post a job today at Indeed.com/hire. Search for greatness. Search Indeed.